So we did our own thing, but the announcer was speaking Chinese. So I had no idea what was going on. Okay. And I couldn't even see a lot on my sides, only my front in that costume. So I couldn't even see who was celebrating winning and all. So basically, the whole thing, they finished announcements and then they said, okay, you guys can go back now. So I was just walking back, and some of my Chinese friends who also spoke English, they just started congratulating me, right? So I'm like, oh, did I win something?
This is Rohit Kailashiya. He's a costume designer and cosplayer at Redemption Props. He has won several national and international cosplay competitions. Personally, I find his attention to detail in several of his Dota 2 costumes quite impressive. In this episode, we talk about skills involved in costume making, career in cosplay, and the social aspects of cosplay. Here is my conversation with Rohit Kailashiya. As far as I'm aware, arts in India is shadowed by engineering and medical fields and often not appreciated or even considered as something challenging. But leaving labels aside, as children, we might have played with clay or Lego and Lego type toys to construct objects from our imagination and thoughts. If you extrapolate those early curiosities, I think one might enjoy art and design later in their career. Uh, I think cosplay is one such career, which is simply costume play. It involves craftsmanship, creativity, and sometimes even engineering. At the design and prop making stage, and at the presentation stage, it brings joy and social interaction. Uh, so, that being an introduction, I would like to ask you, as a costume designer, uh, you make detailed props that I think are almost sculpture like. How did you get started with cosplay and designing props?
See, both art and science have been part of my and my siblings' lives, like our whole lives. Like this can go all the way back to when I was in, I think, fourth grade. Was it sixth? Maybe sixth grade, fifth or sixth grade. When we watched this movie called Zorro. It's a movie about a swordsman. I'm not sure if you guys know, but mm, so this guy basically wore a mask. He's like a superhero. He wears a mask and kills bad guys, saves the girl. So back then we got really inspired by his character, and we decided to just cut off some clothes and make our own mask, a cape, some wooden swords. So this is all the way back to fifth, sixth grade when I was like 9 years old or something. We didn't even know the word cosplay or anything back then. We just did it because we simply enjoyed it, all four of us, right? I have three siblings, by the way. So this kind of art and craft stuff, we all of us always enjoyed. Like we spent a lot of time watching channels like Discovery, National Geographic, a lot of Cartoon Network as well, where there would often be some tutorials about, like, we loved making boomerangs. There were a lot of tutorials about how boomerangs work, how the aerodynamics work. And this was, again, we were kids. We didn't really understand much of the physics, but we were really, really curious about all this stuff. We managed to actually never end up making a functional boomerang, but it's just our interest and effort that we would put into things like these as soon as we came home from school. So this dates way back before we even knew this was a culture, or if this thing even had a name. And then all the way till I remember in ninth grade, which was probably my first proper cosplay without knowing the word cosplay. If you know, there's this anime called Beyblade, and my favorite character from Beyblade was Kai. Obviously, I think most of the people just love Kai. So I was really, really fascinated by the guy. We would go and buy a lot of Beyblades. We even crafted our own Beyblades, literally melted some lead, made some sand molds, and poured molten lead into it and made some Beyblades. Me and my brother, we were crazy about it. And Kai being my favorite character, I actually bought some sleeveless black t-shirt, stitched myself some purple gloves and cargo pants. And literally, I was just cosplaying Kai wherever I went. And I did not know the word cosplay. We did not have any internet back then. It was all just TV. Okay. So that was my first unofficial cosplay that I did not realize I did all the way till recently. I was like, hey, wasn't that a cosplay? So all these things kind of we just naturally were into these things. We loved animations, we loved science, we loved art, and we just loved living it in real life. Actually, my elder sister was kind of annoyed, embarrassed about my whole guy thing. Like, she was like, "You're not coming out with me wearing all that stuff," because obviously people are staring. But I just did not care. I just did what I enjoyed. Uh, yeah, I have always been a crafty person. So after I think my end of my school years or something, I really started polishing my painting skills. I made some artist groups on Orkut, back in the days, to make a lot of artist friends. We were all school kids back then. We used to make anime fan arts. So back then, I spent a lot of time doing digital and traditional paintings and pencil sketches, along with my medical entrance exam. So whenever I got free time, I would just spend all of it on art stuff. And then finally, I got into medical college in Bangalore, and everything kind of paused, because medical studies are really, really hard. You don't really get a lot of free time. Uh, but anyways, I would find a little bit of time here and there. So that's when, like, first Bangalore Comic Con happened, and someone said, "Oh, it has cosplay contest," and I was like, "What is cosplay?" This was in college. I did not know about cosplay all the way till then. So I just did a little Google search, and I was like, hey, this stuff sounds really, really cool. It's like exactly the kind of stuff I would enjoy. So I convinced a lot of my friends from Bangalore Anime Club to join me for cosplay. Like, people were really reluctant to join because, obviously, first time in India, everyone thought that they were going to be made fun of, and rightfully so. There are some mean people out there, so everyone was very skeptical, but I convinced some people anyways, and we all did our first cosplays, like proper cosplay at Comic Con. And from then onwards, I just got more and more into it. Like, every time I would take up on a much bigger and bigger, more and more ambitious project. And like, it was around that time also that I was running through some family issues, so I decided to take a year back in my college. I just needed a break. I was in a lot of financial trouble. So I just put my college on hold for a year, and I decided to make cosplay props as like my part-time job kind of. I would just make and sell it to people. And eventually I got more and more deep into it. I realized I'm actually really good at it, not just in the local community, but all over the world. Like, I knew if I really tried, I could be one of the best. And slowly, it kind of started to make money, and it really, really took forever, like 4 or 5 years even, till I could actually make any substantial amount of money to actually call it even a semi profession. But I got really, really into it, and I went back to college eventually after 2 years. Actually, I wanted to take 1 year break, but I ended up taking a longer one. And when I went back, I just wasn't into it anymore. Like, college just wasn't cutting it, because I didn't want to give up art. Because in medical is kind of so there's so much work and studies to do. You either do medical, uh, like if you're doing medical, you're pretty much not allowed to do anything else, at least not at the level that I was doing, like hours and hours daily. So eventually I just decided to drop out of medical and try to do this full time. Luckily, my brother and sister are very supportive. They're both doctors. So they were a bit skeptical, like, is it even a viable thing? Because, as you said, not really a mainstream thing in India. Actually, not even a mainstream thing anywhere in the world. Like, if you just tell your parents, I want to be a professional cosplayer, probably not anywhere in the world any parent is going to be happy about it. unless you actually start making really really big, get a big name, start making money. So they were a bit skeptical, but they knew how much I loved it, how much dedication was there, and how I was winning many contests and stuff. And they knew my passion for it, as I said, since childhood, how much I love it. So they were like, just take your wise decision, it's your life. So they supported me, and from there on, bigger projects. So here we are.
Yeah, that's a really nice beginning. I think I agree that most people would have come across something similar, like fancy dressing or making crafts, like you mentioned, but not really labeling it as cosplay, and which is actually quite recent here in India, at least. So, but what keeps you motivated now?
I'm just, I guess, very self-critical person. Every time I make something, while I'm making, I'm like pretty happy with it. But by the time I finish it, I'm like, oh, I could have done so much better. Now I know so much more. Just by doing this, I learn, and then I'm like, okay, next time we do this better, better, better. It's like a never-ending competition against yourself. So yeah, that's how I just push myself. Just do it better than your last time. It's kind of like self torture almost. You can say that I am almost never perfectly happy with my own work, so I keep pushing it, pushing it, pushing it. I'm not sure if it's healthy, but it works for me.
A similar question: what aspects of creating these detailed props, using hand tools, excite you? Is it the beauty of bringing something that only exists in fiction, like you talked about your early inspiration from Beyblade? Is it that parallel of bringing fiction to reality, or is it the intricate details of props, or something else?
See, that's the thing, right? The reason why I got so fascinated about cosplay was because it was kind of a platform that allowed me to do everything that I liked. As I said, I love science, I love art, I love fiction, I love games, I love anime. So this platform kind of brings everything together. Like people don't realize, people say it's art, it is art, but at the same time, there is so much science that can go into it. There's so much fiction that can go into it, so much storytelling, so much crafting. So it kind of has everything that I love doing. So when I'm making a costume, usually it's from a franchise that I really really love. Like I have crazy number of Dota 2 hours, and recently I'm making Monster Hunter cosplay. Again, I have played that game like crazy, and just now I started making some Genshin costumes because I'm playing so much Genshin. So there's definitely that aspect that I want to live things that I love, fictional stuff. But at the same time, there's also a lot of artistic and scientific challenge, like how do I overcome this thing, how to make this, how to uh, break down a digital thing and picture it in real life, and how I'll go about actually bringing it to life. So it's a mix of both.
For me personally, the exciting thing is taking something from that exists only on paper or in digital space, or sometimes in our thoughts, and bringing it into reality. I think that's super fascinating, especially when you see these life-sized, uh, you know,
Yeah,
cosplay.
when people like witness it, like they're almost in a disbelief, like is this actually real? Like is this like made out of factory, or is this a movie shoot or something like that? They cannot comprehend that a person is just sitting home and trying to bring fiction to life for themselves. So they're like their first thought is never like, did you make it? Their first thought is usually always where did you buy it from, how did you get it, what is it made out of, is it metal, is it plastic?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you think about the fact that some of your cosplays only exist or only previously existed in the minds of writers and fans, and you finally, or you probably your, if
Yeah, so I'll tell you a really good story about my train protector cosplay, which is till now at least has been my biggest cosplay, I guess, my best. So when I looked at this like cosplay, so in the game, the files weren't like very clear. Everything was very low poly. Textures was not very clearly visible. So what I did was in Dota 2, what happens is most of the sets for the characters, the costumes, they're made by fans who basically submit their submissions, and if they get enough votes, it gets added into the game, right? So I basically backtracked the person who designed this costume. I did a little bit of Google searching and found his Steam profile who had submitted the design. And the guy was actually from Shanghai, from China. So I messaged him like, "Hey, I really like this costume that you've made, this set that you have made, and I want to bring it to life. I want to turn it into a costume. I want to bring it to Shanghai because this guy was actually from Shanghai, and I was making this costume for an event at Shanghai, right?" So he immediately got like really excited. Oh, I get to actually see my creation in real life, because he's not some big shot 3D artist from some big movie brand or gaming company. He's just an artist who submitted his fan submission to a game. So for him it was a really big deal. So I asked him if he can like send me some of the original texture files to me so that it helps me uh, make the costume better. So he was so eager to help me with everything. He just sent me everything. He even said, if you come to Shanghai, I'll help you with everything and all, because obviously language barrier and everything. He helped me find a hotel as well. So yeah, really big deal for artists to see like their creations coming into real life, becoming a real thing. Like same thing happens for even like comic book artists, right? When all these superhero movies are made, it's like such a big deal for them. Like their whole life they worked on it, and suddenly it's the whole world knows it, and it actually exists in real life.
yeah, that's really fascinating. So the tree and cosplay, uh, the the version of it is like you mentioned, a fan submitted cosmetic version,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, for the listeners, those who are not aware, Dota 2 has several characters in the game, and they have a stock appearance, you could say, and fans and players can submit alternative appearances that, if they get enough votes, get added into the actual game. So this was one of the case. Um, yeah, that's really nice that you actually met that person, and you took out more details from the the raw texture files, which, yeah, it's quite nice. Um, I see that you're currently working on Nargigante Cosplay, which
Yeah,
is a character from Monster Hunter. For those who are not aware,
yeah. Monster Hunter World. Yeah,
yeah, Monster Hunter World. So that's the video game, correct?
yeah.
Uh, I really like the detail and how you've incorporated both 3D printing for the really small details and using traditional foam for the larger details. Can you talk about the process and the kind of tools and method you use to bring out details in your props?
First of all, since this whole COVID year has been a lot of sitting home, right? So I spent a lot of that time learning a lot of 3D modeling because I was not that good. Like, if there's any criticism for my tree and cosplay, is that I could have improved on some 3D parts for it, some unfoldings. So I spent a lot of time on this Nargigante, making a proper 3D model, unfolding everything properly. So the details start at that phase itself, right? And then you just amplify it more and more when you actually craft it with your hands. So that's a big part of it. I really went crazy with all the spikes because Nargigante is all about spikes. So I did not want to tone down any of that. Like you see a lot of Nargigante cosplays, people just kind of paint the spikes on or just skip them on because there are literally thousands and thousands of them. So, and I did not place like every single spike on the costume is identical in size and shape and placement as the original armor that is in the game. Like I would zoom in and spot on every single spike. So that was the most tedious. Like that's probably what consumed most of the time, trying to make it as accurate as possible. As far as techniques are concerned, is one of the main things for the dragon skin texture was a lot of soldering iron. I especially bought a new set of soldering iron with a bunch of different size tips for different textures for skin, because different parts of the armor have different size of scales on the skin. So that was one thing. Then second thing, the again I said the spikes. Each spike had its own miniature spikes embedded onto them. Again, exactly replicating it from the game model was it was crazy. Like every 5 seconds, I have to look at the picture, rotate the model, and then sand, then look back at it. So a lot of Dremel work, months and months of it. Like some of the parts, like shoulders alone, probably took more than a month because they had like some 700 spikes or something like that. So techniques are not anything unique or new. It's just that pushing it really to the limits, just zooming in all the way in and just basically not compromising on any details. Just lots of patience, lots of time, lots of dedication. That's about it. No rare, unique techniques or anything.
Yeah, often like people might not just use paint to bring out some of the detail and not really worry about the physical structure. So you try to focus first on the actual structure and then look at painting.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so you talked a bit about career and how you turned this into a profession. I want to talk more about that. So education provides a space and source for learning, developing skills and research. One may use this to create something new or work with an organization to contribute towards their goals, for example, in a company. But education is not directly responsible for creating jobs. At least this is how I view education. But yes, it is one of the outcomes. You have self-taught craftsmanship out of pure interest in creating costumes and props. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think you're a great example of someone who's passion centric. Can you talk about that point of choosing between those two different kind of careers? One which is more towards popular trends, like you mentioned, medical, and the other which is what you are interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the choices you made and how you went through that process?
So, so as I said, my brother and sister are both doctors. We all kind of always had good grades. We, in our heads, we knew that if we study well, we will easily make it to medical or IIT or whatever it is that a lot of people, dream of. Like that's the identical situation for a lot of parents and for a lot of kids, right? So we kind of knew we will be able to pull it off, especially after seeing my brother and sister pull it off. I was very confident that I'll do it. And our family kind of had a lot of rocky situation. Father is not a very nice person. Won't go deep into it, but basically, his whole kind of an abusive person. His whole thing was basically in 12th grade was the time when I actually started doing a lot of paintings and stuff, and I was uh, really interested in getting into animation and stuff back then. And we were living in a very small town, so I was like, I just told him I want to consider going into animation field and stuff. and he's that your very typical get into medical or IIT or get out of the house. So basically, that's what he told me. You do medical or you get out basically, and so that was basically it. I did not actually have a choice. But the thing is, it's not like I was being forced into medical completely out of my interest, right? Because as I said, I love science as well. I love biology, I love physics. So it's not like I was extremely unhappy going into medical and all. I was like, hey, this is good as well. I know I can do it. So whatever, let's do it. So I didn't completely unwillingly go into it, but now that I look back at it, if I had a choice, there's a good chance that I may have chosen art, some other art field. I didn't know cosplay back then, obviously. But after I got into college, that's when I kind of, got more and more into art. And eventually it got to a point where I had to make a choice, art full time or college full time. Because, medical, when you get into medical colleges, it becomes kind of this huge social burden. Like if you even mention about uh, leaving a medical college, people go crazy. Like they're like what is wrong with you? There are millions, billions of people who want to get a medical seat, uh, and they're like not so lucky like you, and you have it and you want to like throw it away. It's like so disrespectful and all that, blah blah blah. So just the thought of leaving medical college uh, kind of was completely insane to me. I did not even consider something like that. My biggest thought was mostly I will just do art side by side as a hobby. But as you go deeper and deeper, you realize in medical field, uh, having a dedicated hobby is a very very big luxury that most people don't have. So in college, and again another thing was, as I said, family conditions were not very good. Father was not very supportive, kind of abusive. So one of the reasons we all got into medical in college, we studied a lot, was because we wanted to be independent. We just wanted to cut off from him, like just get our degrees, be independent, so that we don't have to rely on him anymore. We don't have to listen to him. So that was one of the motivation behind studying so much and getting into a medical college, right? But eventually it just did not cut it for me anymore. So I was like, I would rather be poor and do some part-time jobs and make very less money, but at least I'll be doing what I love. So I had completely cut off from him. I don't talk to him anymore, and I didn't even tell him I was like taking a break from college. I just took a break. I didn't tell anyone in my family. So obviously eventually he was like, what are you doing? Like, how can you do this? You're throwing away your career, blah blah blah. But at that point I didn't care. I had already like made my decision, and now he tries to contact me, and he's like, because now he sees my success, right? He has seen me win world events and seen me with really really big people, with really big brands and stuff. So now he's like, oh, it's very good. Do like get more success and yada yada yada. But it's all whatever. But let's not go there. Basically, I made my personal choice between medical field and art, simply because I just wasn't ready to give up on art. I didn't want it as just a hobby. I wanted to do it full time. I wanted my whole day to be dedicated to this thing, not just like I'm taking this project, but oh, I have exams, I have work, so let's put it on hold for a year. Cannot do that.
Yeah, it's still a common problem with choosing careers here.
Yeah, but then again, at the same time, I did it, but I wouldn't go and tell anyone to do it, right? Because uh, in all honesty, the whole success rate is very very low, and is a very realistic possibility that you'll end up ruining your financial life at least. So always you have to do this on your own discretion, because you can never just ignore that risk. Just be like, oh, I'll just work really hard and it will work out. Never like that. It just isn't. I mean, I have never done any course art related, but technically I have been uh, crafting stuff since I was literally in like primary school, so I did have experience. So that's why I was kind of always naturally good. Like people ask me, like one of the most common questions I get is, how do you get such straight cuts, foam cuts, such clean cuts, perfect 90-degree angles, 45-degree angles, no leftovers, perfect seams? How do you get it? And the thing is, I usually never have an answer because it came very naturally to me, because my very first craft kind of was like that when it comes to cosplay, because probably because I've been doing things like this my whole life, right? So for me it just came naturally. So yeah, I have a story to tell, but I wouldn't go and tell anyone to do this. Please just make your own decisions, okay? You have your own life, but consider all your options, consider what all support you will get, and consider all the risks, please.
Yes, but it is possible. I think that is an
A
example.
lot of things are possible. Like a lot of people these days just want to be influencers. So many of my friends are like, I'll just make an Instagram, I'll become really famous, I'll get ads, and I'll become rich. A lot of people want to be YouTubers. Just I'll make a channel and suddenly become a millionaire. So these kind of professions that you see a lot of very successful people, so you get fascinated. Oh, this is great, but reality is very very few people get it, and there's crazy amounts of hard work going in there. I'm not even there yet, right? Even now I don't know if I'm successful or not, because even now I sometimes struggle to pay my bills, especially between this COVID and stuff. So yeah, I'm still on my journey, but I do not regret it one bit, because I think I've made it fairly far enough, and I think I have a plan and I'll execute it. Right now I'm happier than what I would have been if I just continued with my degree and just constantly thought, what if I did art, you know having that constant doubt that I could have followed my dreams. So yeah.
Can you talk us through how you transformed your interest and skill into a source of income, like how you networked? We earlier talked how this is quite a niche in India, at least. So, how did you set up? How did you connect to people who would actually be interested in what you're doing?
For me personally, the very first interaction with people interested in similar kind of things was Bangalore Anime Club. I joined it when I came to Bangalore for college, and eventually even became their president. So that's where a lot of like-minded people were. So when I started cosplaying and stuff, obviously everyone realized I was good at it. So sometimes people would hire me to make costumes for them, smaller props for them, and these are like very small numbers. Like my first ever prop I sold was a katana for literally 400 rupees. Definitely not something you can live off of, considering most of that cost was the materials, right? So it does not start very well, but slowly it got better and better. The better skills I got, the better jobs I got, and at this point I almost don't even take personal requests, because most of the things I make tend to be too expensive for people to afford just as a hobby, at least in India. Because in dollars it's not much for Western people, they can afford, but in India people are like, make me a helmet, I'll be like, that'll be like 20K, 30K, something like that. So obviously not a reasonable price for someone who's just doing it for a hobby and just basically commissioning me sometime just to support me. So these days most of my work comes from like companies, TV shoots, ads, local events, things like that. Or I just sell abroad, make things, put them on Etsy store. It very, very slowly, like across 5, 6 years, it slowly got to a point where I no longer had to think about how am I going to pay next month's rent. It was such a big mental stress for so many years. Like I had literally like three digit bank balance every single month. I would just barely make my rent money, my food money. I would like eating once a day for like so long, just rice and eggs, stuff like that for so long. But eventually it got better. And also a lot of money comes from prizes. Like once you get really good, you do win contests, and the prize money kind of helps, at least with your own hobby, with your like funding your own future projects and food bills, simple stuff like that. And on top of that, you can make more money by selling things. uh, if people are looking for advice on how to monetize yourself as a costume designer, like prop maker and stuff, I would say don't try to focus everything on one thing. Keep all the options open. Like diversify your monetization. Try to do everything, sell some stuff on Etsy, take commissions, do contests, and don't stick to one particular franchise. Branch it out. Just do as many things as you can. Like I have opened myself up to so many things now. Like I have learned 3D, so I can even take 3D modeling commissions. Sometimes I take body painting commissions. Sometimes I'm just open to anything that I'm confident that it's a service that I can provide and I would enjoy. I'm open to anything, even like photo shoots and stuff. I've been working on my photography skills, my photo shoot setups. So some of my friends contacted me if I can help them with product shoots, creating backgrounds and stuff, props for that. So keep yourself open to as many things as possible. Don't be like, oh no, I'm a cosplayer, I'll only be selling cosplays and making money like that. Just because I love cosplay, but in general, I just love arts and craft. And, my general idea is to pick up random, uninteresting things around me and try to make something interesting out of it. That's basically what cosplay is: pick up materials, make something fancy. But I would do it in any other form as well. Anything that interests me, I'll take it. So diversify your monetization, your career. Stay open to more and more things so that in case something bad happens, at least you have other options. Like right now, COVID has completely killed off all the Comic Con events, all the cosplay related events, right? So I have to look on to rely on my other skills like 3D modeling and any help with ad shoots, photo shoots, all that. So that helps.
And also, there's a market in the film industry, if I'm not wrong, with the props and costumes.
Yeah, there is, but in India, it's kind of hard to get into it because, especially Bollywood, because the whole industry is kind of a closed circuit. Like people who want the stuff already have their fixed suppliers who have been doing that for generations. So for a new person to just go there and start it, it's kind of hard. So, but slowly, we are getting jobs like that. Me and some friends in Mumbai, even here in South Indian movie industry, short film industry, TV shows, and all that. Like recently, I made some props for an ad for a Me phone, and I also did some body paint work for a Telugu TV show ad. So jobs like that also help. So again, keep yourself open to these things. The more and more jobs you do and the better service you provide, the better name you will get in the industry. Always focus on keeping your customer happy. Don't try to like cut corners, because it's very likely if you do a good job, that same customer will recommend you to someone else, because that happens to me a lot. I'll provide a service, I'll put extra effort into it and try to provide more than what the person was expecting or what they paid for. And eventually they'll contact some other friends, like if their friend needs some similar service, they'll be like, oh yeah, I know Rohit, he does this kind of stuff. And that person would contact me. So yeah, be very ethical, be very positive in your whole work thing. Do not try to cut corners, do not try to make use of your clients, squeeze money or anything like that. good reputation really helps in art field, because once you have a bad reputation and if it floats around, it's really hard to recover from. So be honest about your work, work hard, and in long term it will help, because more and more people will find out about you and hear good things about you.
You've been to several international and national conventions. Like with the
Mhm.
people you meet there, do you feel your work and skill is less appreciated here locally, or
I
people are
don't
not
think
just
so.
aware here?
uh, See, how do I put it without sounding like a total asshat? uh, so basically there are like two kinds of people, right? One is the general crowd who just who don't know much about art. They just love the fandom and they just enjoy the costume. They don't know the technical aspects of it. They cannot tell difference between a 7 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10 when it comes to technical stuff, craftsmanship, artsy stuff and all. So for those people it's like uh, more or less the same everywhere. You meet same kind of fans. They appreciate you for whatever you make, as long as it's a character that they love. They don't really care too much about your technical skills. Obviously if you make something really crazy, then people do get little bit of jaw drops. But to those people, like general idea is to just enjoy the whole thing and move on. So their opinion in terms of professional aspect for my work and technical aspect does not matter as much, because some of those people are not very nice. Some people just have this habit of being critical of everything that they have no idea about. And not talking about just cosplay in general. People who have very strong opinions about medical field, even though they have literally never opened a medical book. So for those people, I just see them just as observers. They come, they appreciate, they take pictures. It's nice, very cool people, fun people, and you just ignore all the asshats, right? Who will be like, they will have no clue. They'll throw some criticism at you, and some people get really upset about it, right? And rightfully so. It's kind of sensitive topic, because you're putting a lot of effort and you're putting yourself out there. Sometimes these things can really get to some people. So just ignore those people. Then again, the second half is people who are in the industry, right? The other artist people, who actually know their stuff, who talk to you in terms of art. Like they'll talk about details, how I painted things, what materials I used, how they did the same thing, how they learned something new. Experts basically. So in like the first kind of people we I said talked about is the same across the world. I think those people will just appreciate your costumes, say something nice or say something bad. It's the same in India, it's same everywhere. But the second kind of people is where you kind of start seeing the distinction, because in India it is not that developed. A lot of times I see a lot of cosplayers, even pros or artists, who cannot even tell difference between a 7 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10. And sometimes uh, these people, sometimes not even artists, are put on judging desks and a lot of places where they do not belong. So this is the part where I get a bit salty. Okay, I'm sorry.
Ah, it's okay. This is
So
be as natural as possible.
yeah, so these people, this is where I noticed a lot of difference, right? In West, I saw so many people who would actually ask me questions that I have never been asked in India, right? Because I end up putting so many details that people cannot even see, not just normal people, but even fellow cosplayers, fellow artists in India, that I literally do it just for myself because I have an OCD for perfection. But when I went outside, that's when I started actually discussing these things with people who actually have experienced the same, who do the same, or who are trying to do the same and want to learn from me, or even have some things to teach me. So that's when a little bit of gap that exists comes. India has a lot of good artists, a lot of good cosplayers as well, but there is little bit of gap there in terms of a lot of people. Like, not there are not a lot of people who really are that expert at the top level of craftsmanship in India. Like very few. Maybe I can count them on my fingers. Maybe that few. So yeah, that's where India and abroad kind of diverge for me.
Now let's
What was the
move.
question again? Did I completely shoot off topic?
No, it was perfect. It was it was right. It's exactly what I wanted to get out of the question about
Mhm.
what is the perspective of people here in India and internationally. Uh, because you're a good example, because you've been to many international
Yeah, but
competition.
again, like for me, like always the biggest criticism comes from my own thing, like I am my biggest critic, definitely. Like I critic myself so hard, like even on like smallest things. I'll make something really really great, something really big, but when I finish it, the only thing my eye will go every time I look at it is that one tiny dent where I missed my Dremel stroke for like 1 mm, and I'll keep staring at it. I'm like, shit. So, yeah, self criticism is definitely there. So, when you are so critical of yourself, you uh, kind of don't get too upset about outside criticism, because you know how deep you are in the water. Uh, you know your position, right? What all you need to improve on. Sometimes some really really good people, like who are really really knowledgeable about things, will tell you things that you're like, oh, I didn't even think about this thing. It happens very rarely, but it does, and those conversations are really fun.
Exactly like you said, we can now talk more about the interaction and about cosplay in specific. So hope you don't mind me starting with a silly question, but has your interaction with characters that you cosplayed, for example, you've cosplayed many Dota 2 characters like Treant,
Mm-hmm.
Drow, and Shadow Shaman.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, has the interaction with the characters, for example, in the game, has that changed? Because with movies, this happens where you really connect to a character. So has the time and skill that you put on to these costume changed your perspective on characters?
mm, I'm not sure. Like changed in what terms changed?
Uh, have you seen another dimension of a character, or has it connected you more
I mean,
towards
yeah,
what
like
kind of?
the see what happens is like when you select a character, it's for me at least, it's usually like number one thing, a character that I love playing. I just love it looks wise and playability wise. So I just select character like that, and once you're done selecting, that's when the deep research starts, right? So you kind of uh, getting extra respect and love towards the character, because the deeper you go, the more and more lore you learn about it, the more and more like artistic perspective and story perspective, like the more uh, because all these characters, in at least in best of the best games, the creators put like so much effort, like the game designers put so much effort into each character that we obviously don't always have the time. We just play the game and see whatever we see in the game. But if you usually look at the background and start doing your research, you'll find multiple layers to these characters, so deeper and deeper. So every time I cosplay, I probably learn a lot more new things, both visually about the character while looking at references, and lore wise, story wise, personality wise. So yeah, you learn more things and you usually end up liking them more, I guess.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Uh, so let's talk about your cosplay at the international. So for those of you who are not aware, the international is a Dota 2 competition, and it is one of the biggest esports tournaments. It also hosts a Dota 2 World Cosplay Championship. Uh, so what was going through your mind when they declared you as a winner for your Trian cosplay?
Mm, so the stadium, the announcer was speaking Mandarin, right? It was in China, so no English announcement. They were casters, English casters, but the main casting and the main announcer was Chinese, right? So we basically had to go on the spot. Obviously, my character does not have a lot of visibility. We were we had to do a rehearsal a day before the cosplay contest. Basically, they called us and they told us exactly what will happen and exactly where who has to stand and for how long. And we had cues like when this light shows up, you do your thing, you do your moves, and then you stop here. So everything was very, very well scripted. So we did our own thing, but the announcer was speaking Chinese. So I had no idea what was going on. Okay, and I couldn't even see a lot on my sides, only my front in that costume. So I couldn't even see who was celebrating winning and all. So basically the whole thing, they finished announcements and then they said, okay, you guys can go back now. So I was just walking back, and some of my Chinese friends who also spoke English, they just started congratulating me, right? So I'm like, oh, did I win something?
So you didn't
They're
know
like,
till
oh,
then.
yeah, like at least like few seconds, like on the way back when all the cosplayers were going back. So some of those cosplayers, Chinese friends, they were like, congratulations. So I was like, oh, did I win something? They're like, oh yeah, yeah, you're the champion. So I was like, oh, that's nice, thanks. So that was a huge relief for me, because the whole thing was kind of a whole project was a do or die kind of project for me, right? I spent a whole year on this. I didn't make any money because I was working on this. I spent all of my saving on flight tickets and stay, hotel, and everything. So basically, I went all in. So my first reaction was just a huge relief, just the biggest relief of my life. Like I was like, yes, this had to work. There was no other way. This had to work. Otherwise, I would be in like deep shit. So there was a huge sense of relief immediately. And then obviously I went on WhatsApp, social media, because all of my friends and family were watching. I'd send the links to everyone because it was my big moment. So whole social media and WhatsApp was completely flooded with greetings and everything. Then I just took pictures with all the friends I made in China and headed back to my hotel because we were tired. And on the way back, by the time like an hour or something had passed, I was kind of already past it. I was already thinking about, oh, so what's the next thing? I was already like, so what's the next thing I want to make and participate in? It's always like this. Once you finish one big thing, immediately you just jump off to, okay, something bigger now. What better can I do? How much bigger can this get? Right. So there's a moment of celebration, and then it's grind to the next station. That's how it goes.
Also, let's not forget about the community aspects of cosplaying. Especially for me, I'm filled with joy when I meet someone in costume from an anime or a series that I follow, and it
Hmm.
gets even better if I'm in cosplay.
Hmm.
There's there's this remote connection or of sorts. So can you talk about the social side of cosplaying and how you interact with cosplayers and fans at convention?
See, IRL, I am a very, very socially awkward, introverted person. Like I'm the guy who, like if there's a group, like individually, if I'm talking to a person one on one, like I'm talking to you right now, I can talk a lot, right? But as soon as a third person or a group pops up, I become the observer. I'll just sit silently and people will completely forget that I exist. Like literally, they'll be like, oh shit, you are still here. Like it happens so frequently, right? So I'm not a very public social person in groups, especially. But that kind of changes in cosplay, because in cosplay, uh, my whole thing kind of flips, right? Because in real life, I am the kind of person who attracts zero attention. My voice volume is extremely low, extremely low, and I don't cut off people a lot. I don't speak a lot. um, so I'm very easy to miss in a group setting in real life. But when it comes to cosplay, that's when things flip. That's when all the eyes are on me. So and I guess myself kind of end up becoming a bit more confident and social. I can talk more. Like I'm still a bit introverted and awkward, but I can definitely uh, be more open when I'm in a cosplay. I probably get like confidence plus 10 stats or something like that. Uh, so yeah, social aspect is very fun. That's why sometimes I really like doing some simple cosplays. Like one of the most fun one I did recently was my PewDiePie cosplay. PewDiePie's Minecraft skin. It was a really fun project, really simple costume. But the amount of fan interaction I got at the event in Chennai was like crazy. Everyone's like, bro face, PewDiePie, selfie. Everyone is like throwing references to PewDiePie, uh, throwing some lines, expecting me to answer as well. Uh, so those kind of costumes are really fun sometimes to do. Like it's not just about your crafting skills, but just about the fandom, just sharing the same fandom and same references, same creators, so those kind of costumes are really fun. So as soon as like maybe events start, I might do some Among Us or Fall Guys costumes, a really simple costume just to have fun with people. So yeah, social aspect is fun. Even though I'm not a very social person, it's still fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think the attention that cosplayers receive at convention can be overwhelming sometimes, but I think it can also be a space for
Yeah, so
someone to.
sometimes I dodge it, right? Sometimes I dodge the attention. Like at Bangalore Comic Con, I was wearing Train Protector cosplay for the contest, and the whole thing like takes some 3 hours or something to assemble, right? So I had assembled everything and kept it right outside the judging area. I was not wearing it because I can barely wear it for 20 minutes at a time. It's so heavy. So a lot of people were coming and they were looking at the costume, no? And they were like, "Oh, whose costume is this?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know." Someone. I was dodging so hard because I was not in costume, so I was just me. So at that point, if people just start bombarding me with so much social attention, I feel kind of too awkward. So I was just dodging. And my cousin was there with me, and he's like, "What is wrong with you? They're like looking for a celebrity, and you're like just dodging, like so much attention you're missing out on." I'm like, nah. When I'm in costume, it's fine. That's when I can take the attention in form of that the character is getting the attention. But to me, that's kind of awkward.
So yes, there are psychological and social outcomes that might be useful to someone by attending cosplay conventions. For example, like you mentioned, you can battle social anxiety. Moving on, there are also sides of dark sides of cosplay as well. If there's a lack of crowd control at conventions, things can get really intense really quickly. You've been to several national and international conventions. With respect to the facilities and at conventions and the service towards cosplayers, what are some of the contrasts that you've noticed?
Mm, See, talking about India itself, I have seen events with really, really good uh, support, and I have seen some with really bad support. Like Comic Con is kind of terrible at providing support. They don't give dedicated washrooms. They don't give dedicated area for cosplayers to get dressed. Uh, there are volunteers, but again, those are volunteers, people who are not getting paid and doing free work. So it's not really that Comic Con is spending anything on it. So Comic Con is kind of kind of not a place where you would like to have a fun experience of cosplaying. Honestly, like apart from the social aspect, but some other events in India have been really good, and when they are good, usually the reason is because the person that's in charge of organizing the cosplay part of the event is a person from the cosplay industry itself, one of the cosplayer itself, or someone who at least is well mingled within the circle. So they know what cosplayers require, what things are necessary, what things help, what things don't help. So those kind of events usually have really, really good support. Like they'd come to you and actually help you out. They'll have dedicated areas just for cosplayers. They'll even prepare some snacks and stuff for you and make sure you're always protected. Like we were hired for PGAX at Chennai last year. So that event, we got like such VIP treatment. We literally had security guards following us the whole time. Like we were not allowed to leave our hotel room in costume without security guards. Uh, and everything was really nice. The hotels were really nice. The food was really good. They took really, really good care of us. So events like those are really good, even in India. They exist. It's not like India doesn't have good events. India does have good events. Uh, but abroad, again, Shanghai again, TI International was it's an event of its own league, right? You uh, get nothing close to it in India. Obviously, the arena itself is so big. The budget of the event is so crazy. Like they provided like so much space. Like they had individual dressing tables for each cosplayer with mirrors, makeup table, everything, proper scheduling, and basically whatever we needed we could tell the organizers. It was really good. And Singapore also, they took such good care of us. They provided us with two volunteers per person who would like specifically respond to me. Like I was like just given contact of two people and they were there to help me with anything. They would follow me the whole event, and if there was anything I needed, I just had to tell them. And they were supporting me with all the crowd, like clearing the way, or if someone is being rude, then moving them away, with taking pictures and everything. So they really put a lot of effort into making sure that cosplayers experience was really well. They gave us really nice hotels, even invited us for dinner and after party. So again, that again really big event with really big budgets and really nice people. So good events are everywhere. I wouldn't say India doesn't have good events. They exist everywhere. But there are some shady bad events as well, bad experiences. But again, I am not a person who has ever been used to luxury, because whole life has kind of been survival of the fittest kind of mode for me and my siblings. So we don't expect luxury often. Like so, yeah, for me, I don't care much. But yeah, seeing good events, fellow artists being taken care of, it really cheers you up and make you want to support those people more. Those events.
The other issue is with the consent. While it's nice that people want to take pictures and interact with cosplayers and artists, sometimes people cross boundaries. There's no doubt that this has to change from the bottom up. So, what should people be aware of? How can
I
they be
mean,
more
yeah,
respectful?
I mean, clearly this is not a cosplay problem. This is just a people problem, right? Those asshats would do those things like anywhere anyways. Like they're the same people who do victim blaming and blame girls for their clothing in rape cases and all. They're all the same people and same aunties who would just like when I was doing a Shadow Shaman cosplay, this is way back then. I had an entire great day, and after the whole event, when we were going back, this pack of ladies, some school teachers come, and they're like, one photo, and I'm like, no, because I'm in half the costume, I'm literally taking it off and leaving. And they're like, no, one photo. I'm like, no. And this one lady, what she did was she literally grabbed my arm and pulled me on the side and like tried to take a photo. And they all like started like laughing. They thought it was fun. Like, I don't know, they somehow think that other people are like display trophies or something, that like they paid Comic Con tickets, so they're entitled to everything that is inside, like it's their personal property or something like that, even people. So yeah, big problem, especially in India, I would say. Way worse than outside. China, people were really polite. Singapore, even more polite. Did not have a single picture taken of me without asking me first. Did not have a single rude person. Everyone was just so polite, so nice. And India, is just the general crowd. Most people, I would say, in defense, most people are nice. Most people are very well mannered, very sweet. But every now and then, you see some bad apples. You just learn to dodge them, I guess. And if they force too much, you usually that's why most of the cosplayers, especially the ones who make bigger costumes, uh, always contact some of their friends to do volunteering, for what we call cosplay buddies, who are always there to help. So luckily, I have a lot of friends in all the major cities in India. So I always have someone helping me out. And if some asset comes, they would just shoo them away. So really thankful to those people. Thank you for helping all of us. But yeah, the problem is there, and how to tackle it. Uh, I don't really know. I don't think, as I said, it's not a cosplay problem, right? It's just that's just how those people are in terms of anything. Most that you can do is just make everything more and more strict. Make like some penalties, like kick them out or make them pay something, some amount, because that's kind of the only language that these people understand. Language of punishment. Like unless there is a punishment, if they feel like they can get away uh, from doing something bad, then they'll do it, right? Like they're well aware of the fact that they're doing something wrong, but they do it anyways because they're used to not having any consequences. So I guess it's up to the organizers to put those consequences in there, like immediately kicking these people out. But again, India is like so populated, conventions are so crowded, is just not always possible. So in general, just to like note to general public, if you see anything like this happen, I guess speak up, like just call them out immediately, because these people hate being called out, right? Because they think they can get away with it, but in public, if someone calls them out, they immediately freak out and they try to run off or get defensive. So immediately just call out these people if you see something wrong being done to some other person. Yeah, that about it, I guess. I don't have an expert opinion on this. I'm just a guy, I guess.
But do you have any suggestions for platform? When you mentioned about uh, how you should restrict or punish people in some way, can you talk about some restrictions that platforms like Comic Con can take so that the safety of cosplayers is not crossed?
Yeah, first and foremost thing is just immediately kicking them out, right? Like just mention it in the ticket itself when purchasing, in bold letters, that these things are prohibited, and if you do this, uh, you will be kicked out, because these people need to know these things before they come in, right? Because usually they come in with the mentality that they own the place, right? So they need to be coming in knowing exactly what their ticket provides and what exactly it does not provide or allow, right? So make it very very clear that if you do these things you will be kicked out. And obviously certain deeper borders, like not just verbal harassment, but if some people go really really deep, like physical harassment, especially to girls, then do threaten them with legal actions. Like if you do this within our convention vicinity, then we will take action against you. So yeah, these things need to be made clear uh, well in advance, even at like ticket collection booth, maybe the people who give out tickets give them instruction to tell these things to customers, or have some volunteer set up there just telling people that this is not okay. Because sometimes people are just that dumb that unless you babysit them through things that they cannot do, they'll do it, even though they know it's wrong.
Let's talk more about what you're currently working on and what kind of,
mm,
yeah, just what are
so
you currently working on and what are some of the projects that is ongoing?
so currently I am crazy mad in love with this game called Genshin Impact and Monster Hunter World. So apart from Nargigante costume, I am working on some custom journals for Monster Hunter, basically notebooks with crafted dragons on them from Monster Hunter theme. So I'm working on those. Once I finish, they'll be up on my store. Hopefully, I get to make some money. Please buy them. Uh, and apart from that, I'm playing a lot of Genshin and making Genshin costumes. I am doing a collaboration with a really talented seamstress from Arunachal Pradesh. So she's doing all the fabric stitching work. I'm doing all the prop work. So we're making these cute Genshin Impact costumes, and hopefully they will sell. Uh, let's see. But it's really fun project. I hope it works. But that's what I'm doing. Genshin Impact, Monster Hunter. That's all that's going in my life right now.
Can you name some books that you value?
Hmm. Will be very honest. I'm not much of a book reader because most of my life, too many books, way too many books from school and education, right? So books kind of mentally became these things that you're supposed to push yourself through. So most of my educational content that I really like comes from video or audio, mostly YouTube or even text digitally on PC. I have not read a hard book, actual paper book, in a very, very long time. Probably not since I left college. But uh, I like some Japanese literature. I really like this No Longer Human. If just Google it, really really cool book. I love. If you're asking for what kind of genre I prefer, I love psychological thrillers and psychology in general, philosophy, and I love fantasy, a lot of fantasy stuff. So I tend to lean more towards adaptation than actually reading the books, which some people will get angry about because books have so much more. It's probably true, but I don't know. The thing is, my work, the way it works is I'm working, and in the background there's always something playing on my PC, some video, either educational or entertainment, something like that, that I cannot do with book reading, right? Because book reading has to be fully dedicated. So it's very rare that I actually just sit down and read or watch things. I'm usually working side by side. So with books, it's kind of hard to do. At some point, if I do get free time, I might pick up some books. Uh, if you know PewDiePie, then he and me, we like a lot of things very, very similarly. So the books that he recommends are probably what I would like as well. Because some of the ones that he mentioned, I have read or at least went through them long ago. But yeah, if you're looking for book reviews, go look at PewDiePie's book review videos. They're awesome.
A bit
Yeah. So,
of,
hmm?
yeah, a bit philosophical, but what values in life are important to you?
Mm, okay. First of all, professionally speaking, or even hobby aspect, uh, as long as you're not hurting someone else, hurting the environment, or creating trouble for someone else, just do your own thing. Don't listen to other people. Do your own thing. As long as you're not hurting people, spend less time thinking about other people's opinions, because you're never going to get anywhere if you just listen to every other criticism of every other dumblehead. Because maybe rude, but most of the people around are not very nice and happy people. There's so many people who are just uh, forcing through their lives. They're not happy, so they project the same unhappiness on other people. Like, if I'm not happy, how can this person be doing what they like? So please do your thing. Focus on your own happiness. Help yourself before trying to help others. And what other philosophies do I follow? I do have actually a lot. I love philosophy. It's just nothing specific is coming to my mind right now. Hmm. I don't know. Does that work? Like, what else can I say? I'm not sure.
uh, yeah, yeah. Even the theme of the podcast is basically
I
talking
mean,
to
my
people.
philosophy is basically kind of like Hakuna Matata. But just be nice, like, be the person that, like, treat other people the same way that you expect to be treated. Don't be an asshat. Same goes in professional field as well. Always try to give better than what you're offering, and better than what the person in front of you is expecting. Just always try to be a better version of yourself. Don't try to compare yourself with others. Rather, compare yourself to yourself from yesterday. uh, yeah, just most of your answers are usually like within yourself. If you're having trouble finding some answers in your question, probably the problem you're having is, more often than not, you're looking at too much at a higher level, and you need to go down back to your roots and try to figure out what it is that you really want to do, what it is that, how would, like, what do you like, how do I say this, go to, like, back of your mind and ask yourself, what how would you want the things to change right now, like how would you prefer things to be, and then move from there on, instead of looking at your current situation and trying to unsolve it for future, right? Okay, I completely messed that up, but
Yeah, I
yeah, I'm
mean,
sorry. I'm
it's
not
okay.
good with words. I'm awkward.
Yeah, but yeah, but these are, yeah, all very simple things, and people often
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah, that's my philosophy. Most of the answers in your life, the biggest answers are the simplest ones. The more complicated you get, same even in philosophy, the more deeper and complicated you get, you're probably doing something wrong, because most of the answers to the biggest problems in lives are the simplest ones. If you're finding things too complicated, it's probably because you're not looking at the basics.
Yeah, I
So, yeah.
think by talking about this, I think we can remind ourselves about some of the basic and simple values. So that was the goal of the question. Uh, But moving on, where can people find out more about you and your work? How can they contact
Mm,
you?
I am on Instagram at Redemption Props. Um on Facebook, I have a page Redemption Props, but it is inactive now. Please do not contact me there. I have a new page called Rology, Rohlogy. That's the spelling. So contact me there. I'm trying to change my brand name because Redemption Props is kind of very niche to just props that I just made years ago without thinking a lot. But as I said, I want to keep more and more options. I want to branch out into more things. So maybe my whole brand will change to Rology. If you don't find Redemption Props anywhere, search Rology instead. Uh, Hopefully in future, once I move to a bigger place, you'll be able to find me on YouTube at Rology as well. But yeah, for now, Instagram is the place to find me. Apart from that, you can write me email at redemptionprops@gmail.com.
Outside cosplay, you also make props for as a uh, as a single piece, as a decoration piece.
Yeah, yeah.
S-
I did a job last year for a gaming cafe. Basically, they were a gaming cafe from Hyderabad, and they wanted to decorate their cafe with some CS:GO and Dota props. So they contacted me, and I went there and basically did the interior designing kind of thing for them. Made a lot of Dota 2 props and CS:GO guns for them, and it's on their wall. It looks really nice. So yeah, I do make non-cosplay things as well. And as I said, I'm working on the Monster Hunter Journal right now. Not a cosplay prop, it's just a really cool notebook. So I do love doing projects like that, non-cosplay.
yeah, so for people who are not interested in cosplay or costumes,
Mhm.
you can
Anything
connect
art
to Rohit.
related,
Yeah,
anything at all, art related. If you want something made, just contact me. Either if I'm able to make it, I'll make it for you. If not, I'll direct you to someone who can do it. So yeah, feel free to ping me anytime.
this has been a really interesting conversation. I got more in depth into what a creator goes through and the journey that you've come across. I hope more people and institution appreciate the value of art and artists. Thank you for doing this, and all the best for your upcoming cosplays.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had fun too. I'm sorry, I'm a bit of a socially awkward person and I'm not good with words, but I tried. I really did. But it was fun. Uh, Good luck with your podcast. I hope it does well. I'll tune in when it goes up. Let me know.
Sure.
Even
Thank you
though I
so much.
hate listening to my own voice, but I'll go through it somehow.
Perfect.
Okay, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you.